Guys, welcome to Drop and Draw Day number 1. I always start the year off with just a drawing warm-up exercise. And those of you that haven't had me before, I call most of these drawing days just drop and draw days. I call it drop and draw because we drop what we're doing and just take a day to practice drawing. I try to schedule these throughout the year at kind of regular intervals, just so we can take a break. If a project's been going on a long time, we can take a break, step back, just do a day of drawing. It never hurts to practice, just like shooting hoops, the basketball player. Practice makes you better. And practice is painful. So these aren't always fun projects, but practice is necessary. If we're watching this video, you have already at least skimmed through the lesson, if not read it. And you will see that, as I've said over and over, and I believe Mrs. Rank has said, everything in the world can be defined by 5 basic shapes: the cone, the cylinder, the sphere, the cube, and the pyramid. And if you look at the diagram I put in there, the human hand, the palm of the hand is basically a flattened cube, like a little flat cereal box. Every knuckle is a sphere, and every gap between the knuckle is a cylinder. So the human body can be broken down that way. Buildings can be broken down that way. Trees can be broken down that way. Everything in the world can be broken down by those 5 basic shapes. So most of our drop and draw days will revolve around practicing those shapes. Today we're just going to do the flat out boring white shape. But the rest of the time we try and find objects all over that represent those shapes so that you're not drawing the same thing over and over, but you're still getting the basic skills. So let's just get into it. Since you're watching this video, that means we're not at school and we don't have the shapes to set up. So we're just going to do like the little diagram and divide our paper into 4 even spaces. Oh, and by the way, if I didn't tell you before this, all of our drop and draws are going to be done with a Bic pen this year, because it is very hard to break the habit of smudging a pencil with your finger when you're drawing. So I thought, let's just cut through the chase and give you pens that you can't smudge, so you can start learning some better techniques for shading without having to get that finger out and smudge it into the paper. And the reason for that is, when you are doing a professional drawing that you want to hold on forever or sell to someone, you're using a piece of paper that probably costs you between $12 and $20, that one piece of paper. And it's almost made entirely of cotton, and it absorbs everything. So your body oils, if you put them on that paper, absorb into that paper, and then the graphite from the pencil sticks to that spot. And you just can't ever get rid of it completely. And even if you thought you got rid of it, as the oil and the paper age, that oil spot gets darker and yellower. So your fingerprints show up all over the paper. So when I'm drawing a good drawing, like a finished piece of art, I have a paper towel between my hand when it's on the paper, and I never ever take my finger and smudge anything. But those of you that have seen my drawings, and if you haven't, I'll bring some in, they look like I've smudged, because I will teach you the right way to use a pencil. All right, so let's just get down to it. I'm going to start with the cone that's in the upper left-hand corner. So draw lightly. This is a drawing. It's not a photograph. So don't get too worked up over not being able to erase. It's an exercise, and seeing the process of the exercise is part of the work. So I've got my cone. I'm going to come over here and draw a cylinder. Now a cylinder, when you're looking at it from the side, the top is squished into an oval. And then this bottom arch needs to be duplicated down here. They need to be the same kind of arch. And then the 2 sides need to be parallel. Okay, so you want a straight cylinder. It's convincing in shape. Okay, then I'm going to draw my sphere. And you just got to kind of sketch it lightly until you get a nice circle. I've done this a lot so I can get mine pretty round. All right, so I got my circle, my sphere. And then we do a cube. Remember that magic cube when you were a kid that you drew that was see-through and you couldn't tell if it was going one way or the other? So we're going to do that again. Okay. There's the front of my cube. Here's one side of my cube. Now, this line and this line have to be parallel. They've got to be at the same angle. And the same with this. This line and this line have to be parallel. Otherwise, you have a rhombus and not a cube. Okay? And then this line and this line are parallel. And then this line and this line are parallel. Okay? So parallel, parallel. Okay? Everything is straight on parallel to each other. Okay? So now, let's practice a couple different ways of shading. So on the sphere, I'm going to just do like strokes that follow the contour. Every time we shade something, you should try and emphasize the shape and follow the contour. So I'm just going to kind of slowly bring in. Oh, I forgot to tell you, we got to mark the light source. My light is coming from this way, this way, this way, and on this side, I want the shadow here. So my light's going to come from this way. Okay, so the highlight and the shadow, light side and dark side. Okay, so I'm going to start kind of building up lightly. I'm brushing. Shoot, let me pause what we're doing. And we have to do a value range before we even do anything else. Oh my goodness. All right, so on the edge of your sketchbook, draw a rectangle. Okay, divide it out into about 8 equal squares. Okay, then go back, color this one as dark as you can. Shade this one in super duper duper dark. Making sure my camera can still see you. Yep. All right. Shade that one in super duper dark. I'm going multiple directions, so it's as dark as I can get it. Okay. Then start bringing that down into the next square. That's a good next step. Okay, bring it down again into the next square. Trying to gradually get lighter as you go. Now, you can vary the pressure on your pencil or pen. If you don't push as hard, the pen is lighter. I'm getting it there. A little bit lighter again. Even lighter. All right, so I think I've got a pretty good step there from black to white. Okay, so it gets lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. So you want to be able to do that with the amount of ink, the amount of overlapping, and the amount of pressure. All right, so let's go back. All right, so that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to darken this side. Okay, so what I want you to do is take your time and do the whole thing that way. Okay, making sure you have that highlight on the sides. Look at the reference image from the lesson handout. Right, so that is probably, I don't know, I call that directional shading. Let's call that directional shading. Okay, now on the cylinder, let's do pointillism. Okay, pointillism is dots. It's dots that are really close together to make black, and they get further and further and further apart to make lighter values and get white. So let's do that. Same thing. Light source is coming this way. Okay, darkest spot is going to be here. Lightest spot is going to be here. And up on top is going to be dark here and kind of get lighter as it goes over. But the lightest spot is going to be right here. Okay, so I'm going to start with my dots. I'm going to work my way across. I'm going to start spreading them out. Go back. Yeah, you're going to have to, like I can hear the pen. Like I can hear it tapping away, can't I? Okay. Spread the dots out, spread them out. Oh, more dots here. Get that mid-range. Trying to get that full range of 8 values. I think I'm going to adjust this lesson as we go along. It's the first time I've sat down and like done it as I wrote it. And I think for the pointillism one, it's going to take you like way too long. So I would say let's drop this little guy down and make him much smaller. Okay, I'm going to give you permission to shrink that one so that your dots don't take you 2 hours. Okay, so I'll give you permission to whatever one you do pointillism in to make it littler, like 1.5 inches tall instead of 3 inches tall. All right, so that's pointillism. Lots of dots, getting less and less gradual dots until you have none when you get to the highlight. Okay, same thing up here. It's not as dark as this side. You don't start out at value 8. Here you start out maybe at value 5. So if we go, 8, 7, 6, 5. So maybe this is what starts out here. So you have dots and then at a value of 5 and then get lighter and lighter as you go across. But this 5, if I dot it in, ends up right here next to this 8, okay, which has to be super, super, super dark, right? So look at the handout diagram. You can tell that the top isn't as dark as the darkest side of the cylinder. All right, so let's look at the sphere. Watch your light source. Okay, got a light source here. And now I'm going to do kind of like a scribbling, like random, loose shading. So I'm going to start where it's super dark. And I'm just going to scribble. This is one of my favorites. This one and the directional shading. I like them a lot because they're kind of easy to build up and you move your hand really fast.
I'm still kind of...
A little bit of shadow behind that. Okay, so that's pretty close to full value range. Okay. Then I'm going to let you on the cube pick your favorite. Whichever one of these you liked best. Let's do that. And just pay attention. The light's coming this way. So this is going to be your super dark side. Okay, and it's going to be really dark at the bottom, like an 8, and then maybe only get to a 7 at the top. It's almost solid. Okay, this is probably a 5. Okay, this is probably a 4. I would make it lighter here and kind of like a 2 and maybe work your way to a 4. All right, so just pick your favorite one here. Now go back and put the drop shadows. We don't want anything floating. When we're drawing something from real life, it's sitting on a surface. So you've got to give the image that it's actually sitting there, the impression that it's sitting there. So the cone is going to cast kind of a pointy shadow. Okay, the cylinder is going to cast a long shadow. Kind of mimics the shape. Okay, same thing with the sphere. I'm going to run off the page here. Okay, cast that shadow. And the square is going to cast a shadow off that way. Right? Then you're going to do the same thing shading your cache shadow. Okay, it starts out super dark next to the object and then gets lighter as it goes away. Okay, so dark to light. So an 8 to like a 3. Okay, the shadow. Right, does that make sense? Okay, so, and use same technique. If this is pointillism, then this cat shadow has to be pointillism. This is a contour stroke, so this has to be a contour stroke. This is like scribbling or scumbling is what they call it, and the shadow has to be. And whatever 3 of these 3 you do here, the drop shadow has to be the same technique. All right? So, any questions, drop me a note on the Google Classroom assignment, and I'll answer ya. We'll talk to you later. Bye.